welcome to today's Value Talk. Or today we have with us Mr. Aditya Vardhan, जो कि Value Talks के पुराने बाशिंदे हैं, and he has been with us earlier as well. And on popular demand today, we have got him again because there was too many queries about cyber security as a career track, and so we decided to invite him again, and he has been gracious enough to accept this uh, invitation. So welcome Aditya, welcome again. For all those,
Manish, thanks for having me here. It's always a pleasure to interact with armed force officials. It always fascinated me. I'm a four-time SSB reject, right? NCC B, C certificate holder, so it's always a pleasure.
oh great, I didn't know that. That's a great missing insight you have shared today. Let me just okay, great. So you have been active in NCP and all, huh? Very nice.
Right. That's what.
So I'll just briefly tell everyone about Aditya, though I had already shared his credentials. He holds an MBA from ISB Hyderabad and also holds CISSP, which is the gold standard, considered the gold standard in cybersecurity. He's CIRIS, CISA, CGEIT, CPISI, etc. He has led IT functions, IT and cybersecurity functions across leading corporates, including L&T, PepsiCo, Adani, Kane, and Crescorp. He is one of the most eligible guys to be here, expert to be here to talk from a third-party perspective. So welcome aboard, Aditya, once again, and
Thank you.
thank you for accepting this invitation. So Aditya, we last time also we covered, and but at the cost of repetition, मैं एक बारी आपको दोबारा से बताऊंगा कि in our audience right now we have around 35-40 people, 35 people, and most likely more will join or they will watch us on YouTube. So we have, as you know, short service commission officers who are coming after say 10 years of service, and then we have people who take early release from army between 15 to 20 years, and then we have people who are coming after full service. So when we discuss cyber security as a career track, we will keep all the three categories in mind, right? Though their aptitude and fitment may be different, but we will talk about all the three categories, right?
Yeah, of course.
So let's first hear from you. So one thing which is very fast growing is digital marketing. The marketing has gone digital totally, and with everything going digital, there is the security threat. The is also very much there. So if the security threat is there, then cyber security of course has to grow. So how is the rise now, and the demand and supply?
So I think it has been phenomenal when it comes to cybersecurity, and I think this is I think an exciting stuff. Now, as Manish, you said, things are going digital. Pandemic has expedited lots of digital initiatives. The business has really evolved. The digital initiatives have really evolved. We are seeing, if we go pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, the cloud adoption has really hit a chord with lots of enterprises who which were really reluctant earlier. And similarly, the landscape has changed, right? So in short, cybersecurity has been the need of hour. And the other side of the story is there's not enough skills. Every industry, right? You name the industry, be it a consumer, be it a service provider, be it OEM, all are struggling with the right kind of cybersecurity skills, right? And this is where I do believe that entire audience who are with us can really play a vital role over there.
Right. So will I be wrong in saying that, like, every industry, every company has got security function? So similarly, now that every company has to have, I mean, it's a no-brainer that every company, every business, whether small or big, has got digital presence now, online presence now. So the cyber security is an inherent uh, requirement. It's There is no alternative to it. You have to have it.
No, it is. It is, Manish. The only question would be in what capacity, in what process they consume that cybersecurity, right? So what we are seeing, let me spend no few minutes to tell, no, to share my views what's happening in the industry. See, we all know there have been early adopters when it comes to cybersecurity, and then cybersecurity has predominantly driven not just in India but across world via regulatory route, right? The enterprise or industry sectors which were governed by certain regulations. Say, for example, banking, governed by RBI. RBI put in certain mandates on cybersecurity, and hence our banking sector was the first adopter of cybersecurity practices. Okay. Similarly,
Yeah.
BFSI, other non-banking industry, be it insurance companies, be it financial institutions, right? SEBI, IRDA, and the other regulatory bodies kind of push cybersecurity through all those things. Then there's also, obviously, if companies are dealing with global entities, so the global regulations are also coming in, right? So when you are dealing with Europe, then you have, compliances around privacy, right? So all those things are coming in. Uh, and what has happened, I think this has actually opened other avenues for cybersecurity professionals as well. Certain we all know, right? Certain is our cyber no emergency response, a body of India, which
Yes, sir.
basically govern, yeah, which basically govern incident response across. So they were predominantly focused on BFSI and critical sectors. Okay, but now what they have done in April 2022, they basically sorry they basically expanded their horizon to include other enterprises as well. So they have come up with certain guidelines, no, irrespective of industry or scale, where those enterprises are supposed to have certain security initiatives in place. Say, for example, these no enterprises are supposed to have incident detection mechanism in place, and once incidents are detected, no, that certain should be informed within 6 hours, right? So this is something which has really pushed lots of enterprises which were there on fence, not taking initiative on cybersecurity, really hard on that. Okay, so this has really democratized the cybersecurity need in the companies. Now coming back to how they are consuming, you are absolutely bang on, Manish, that enterprises are really investing into cybersecurity. Okay, and no, the other sectors, the sectors which we spoke earlier, the other sector, be it manufacturing, be it healthcare, or pharma, be it retail, all those are really investing into cybersecurity. They are getting their own team. On the smaller companies, or you may want to call SMB, small and medium enterprises, they are still not taking services from the third party, right? So obviously there is no a need, but the delivery of those needs might be different, right? So this is where the service providers are coming in to offer those services to them, and the other services, more and more they are kind of getting resources in house or establishing the hybrid environment. What it means is they might have one or two resources, they might have security manager in place, they might have CISO in place, while they still rely on third party to deliver cybersecurity as a managed services to them, where the players likes of say big four like Deloitte, KPMG, PwC might come in, or Wipro, TCS, the tier one service providers might come in, or tier two service providers also might come in.
So my this thing is, I have some data in front of me. Actually, I got stuck in traffic. Otherwise, I would have made a slide about it. So it says that uh, over a period of 8 years, this data has been collated, and the cyber security jobs have grown by 350% in 8 years. And 1 million job in 2014, the requirement was now in 2021, it was 3.5 million. And in US only, US alone, there are about 90,000 CISSPs. So we may give it little bit of here also. 90,000 CISSPs in US are there approximately, and there are more than 110,000 jobs which require CISSPs. So that means the shortage is, the demand is more and the supply is less. And similarly for CISOs and other functions. So if that be so, uh, so as you know, these the officers who are planning to hang their uniform and they are planning to make a switch in their career. So there can be three kind of tracks. One is core technical, where I think they can, and you will be able to throw more light on it, where they can have CISSP or CISM or any such certification, CEH. Second is a techno-commercial kind of role where they understand this, but they are not core tech guys, but they understand what all is there in the uh, hardware part of it and the application part of it in the cyber security, and they know the language, and they go into the techno managerial role, sales, pre-sales kind of. And third is a person who is who's coming after full service, and he has a very broad understanding of uh, uh, cyber security as a whole, and where they can maybe perhaps they can join companies which are into uh, which are defense oriented, because defense also is a very big buyer of all these things. It's a very big market. So keeping all these three categories in mind, can you tell us a path for a person who's coming after, say, 5, 10 years, 12 years of service, below 40, and he's planning a core cyber security track? So how should one go about?
Sure, Manish. But allow me to park this question. Okay.
Yeah. So,
And we'll address it. I think this is very, very important. As we were also discussing, right, to have a clear roadmap in place, right? So what does one do? Uh, so I have been kind of doing certain slicing and dicing, okay, on how no on cybersecurity, no, to really no help no individual to see what should be the next step, okay, into it. So if we look at the overall cybersecurity role that can be categorized, this is definitely on the techno-commercial, on the defense part of it will come in. But typically, if we look at it, we can divide those roles into three areas. Okay, one area is internal. So on the consumer part of it, if you look at manufacturing organization, you look at healthcare, or you look at even the financial organization. Every organization has certain internal cybersecurity thing. So you have internal cybersecurity requirement, right? So that is one category of it. And there are various roles into it you might think of. You might think of a role called security manager. You might think of a role of a CISO. You might think of a role of a privacy officer, or a track lead, which is more technical. Now, the second category of cybersecurity role comes from service provider. Okay, the service provider, as we named few earlier, which are providing cybersecurity services to the client organization, right? Be it big four, be it regular enterprises. So there you will find SME, right? Subject matter expert on certain areas, which Manish, you were referring even as technical as well, right? Or a delivery manager. Within that, there could be certain techno-commercial role as well. Okay, so the techno-commercial role you may want to take as a defense-oriented, right, or the account management, or the relationship manager for defense, which basically for someone who is coming after long service, maybe after 15, 20 years, or even after full service, can be a viable no option to get into it. And the third one is OEM. Even within OEM, then again there are two roles. One is complete technical, and the other role is again looking into pre-sales or the techno-commercial as well, right? So the pre-sales and techno-commercial can be looked into the service provider, can be looked into OEM as well. And for everyone's understanding, when we say OEM, it could be the providers which are giving those solutions, like you would have heard Cisco, Symantec,
Experts.
Trend Micro, right? These all are OEM. And when we say service provider, we are talking about TCS, Wipro, Capt, right?
Yeah.
IBM. Just to be on a same page when we are talking,
Right.
right? And so when we look at it, okay, there are few things which we can, and I will try to keep it simple, but cybersecurity by its nature is slightly complicated, so just bear with me. When we say on the internal, or on someone getting into security manager or a CISO part of it, so there are few areas which one can think of. Okay, so one area is on the GRC part of it. Okay, governance, risk, and compliance. This role is more about management. This role is more about policies and processes and compliances. It is less technical, while it requires certain understanding of technology, but it is less technical. And if you look at it, there are various things which we can discuss. What could be the what could be the certification? Or Manish, should I capture it right now?
Yeah,
Mentioning what
you can actually uh, okay, but you can cover this, that for GRC certifications, and it is actually applicable for whom? I mean, it is suitable for whom?
absolutely. So I think what we see, if we look at from a suitability standpoint, right? So we have 5 to 10 years, okay, which obviously has a long career ahead of them, and then they can definitely invest some time to build certain understanding. They can invest some time into it, right? And then we have 10 to 15 years, or uh, or we can also think of considering the technical versus non-technical,
Right.
right? That could be even a better way of looking at it, and subsequently we can look at the tenure wise as well. If we look at technical versus non-technical, let me put it, which are more technical, which are less technical, right? So the veterans can have a look what basically suit them. Um, See, if we look at it in cybersecurity, one slightly less technical. I won't say that it's not technical at all. It is technical, but slightly less technical is on the GRC front. Okay,
Okay.
the GRC is, as I said, it's all about policies and compliances, right? So the important starting or starting track would be ISO 27001, which is a de facto standard of building a cybersecurity program, which is also called ISMS. So ISO 27001, there are basically two tracks: lead implementer and lead auditor, and
Right.
both gives you good understanding to start with. The next stage on GRC could be CISA. Okay, CISA. It's a SACA program which gives you a good understanding how you basically carry out audit. And when you carry out audit, you can also define the processes. It gives you a
Right.
good entry into the GRC world. And then
Right.
obviously, and starting things, right? Then you can basically take, regulation wise, there are courses available on PCI DSS if you are trying to get into the financial, part of it, right? Payment card. PCI DSS is payment card, right? Whenever there is a payment card related transaction happening, those companies are
Right.
supposed to have PCI DSS. Now, we do expect, while that data protection bill has been revoked or taken back by the organization, but we do expect that it should be with us shortly. So there is going to be very increasing demand on privacy part of it.
Right.
Privacy is going to be a hit area, guys, right? So, and we have our internal organization called DSCI, okay, Data Security Council of India. It's a Indian, it's a NASCOM promoted organization, and they do provide no courses in privacy as well. Then there are separate international organizations which does provide courses on privacy. I would suggest DSCI could be another starting point to have initial understanding on privacy. Okay, so this is on the GRC part of it. The associated with it is which could be your manager slash CISO. Okay, manager, different nomenclature at times at different organizations. So we'll just keep it literal. The manager is all about managing that overall environment, while you are not supposed to be very deep dive into very specific technology. All right. So the technical audience, which are already say managing, might be managing say network security, right, or managing certain other security components with an armed force. Fine, that becomes a very quick no entry into this club. But otherwise, also the people who are less technical can also take a route on it. Manager slash CISO. And obviously, when we say CISO, we do expect that someone will have 15 to 20 years of experience. When we say manager, maybe 5 to 10 years of experience will also suffice. And what could be the certificate? The track could be, the starting could again be ISO 27001, but the important track there could be CISSP, which is from ISP2, or CISM, which is from ISACA. CISSP, I have seen, it's by experience carries slightly more weightage than CISM, but at the same time, CISM is slightly easier than CISSP. So what does it mean is, depending upon how much time we have got, depending upon how much understanding we have got, no harm in attempting CISM first, right? Because the kind of experience the officers are bringing to the table, plus understanding of cyber security as a whole, will really give a good foot in the door, right? Good knocking onto the enterprise saying we are ready. CISSP, even if you don't want to attempt the certification, go ahead, read it through. It's a very, it's an excellent program. Okay, and in technical word, in cybersecurity word, what we call CISSP is 1 mile wide and 1 inch deep. So what it means is it gives you enough understanding of different cybersecurity jargons, while it will not give you a deep dive into it. And that's what the security managers and CISOs are supposed to know, right? They know what they are supposed to are. They know what the kind of response to it, and all those things CISSP give.
We have,
Right?
so this is all the first is GRC part, and GRC you said it is ISO 27001 or CISA, and the courses are generally, one can have a look at Data Security Council of India, the courses offered by them, right?
On
And
privacy.
then you have manager of
Yeah.
then you have manager of the CSIS, which is again ISO 27001 still remains to be one of the important courses, and then you have under that CISSP and CISM as well, and they are not, though they are quite grueling examination certifications, but they are not deep dive into this. So that is something which one can look at, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So will it be applicable to, I think I have seen people who are coming after, even after 15, 20 years of service and doing CISSP. I have seen them doing it, and I know quite a few of them. And they are doing pretty well also. So I think it is applicable for all.
Absolutely. They can. They can. In fact, it's a very good question, Manish. In fact, the ones who are kind of taking a techno-commercial role, it would be helpful to them as well. Not just
Okay.
the internal or a service provider side. In fact, if they are taking that as well, In fact, we
Right.
have seen and as you rightly use a term called techno-commercial, so they do expect to very certain technical understanding. And this is where the sales conversation become easier. Okay. So they can also look at it. So,
So,
so the reason I highlighted was just to, they have a clarity depending upon the time and commitment they can take it up. But if you ask if they have a choice, go for CSSP.
JSSP.
Absolutely. Between
Right.
CISM and CSSP, go for CSSP. If time permits, it's a lengthy program. It really tests your I would rather say your spine, because typically it's for 6 hours, and I do hope it's still 6 hours, right? So it really tests your patience there.
Right. Very. I agree with that. And so, but there are certain programs, which claim to be, for example, that certified ethical hacking, and then you have red team and blue team. There are so many programs which are oriented towards, more towards hacking and protection from hacking and all those things. So, what about them? I mean, there are people who may be having aptitude for all that.
Right. So I think, Manish, we will target all these program into our technical part, right? So what we
Right,
said that first is more about generic, okay,
right.
the overall managerial thing, and the second track is on the technical, right? VAPT is definitely one of the lucrative,
Which one?
and VAPT, which we call vulnerability assessment penetration testing.
Okay, VDBT.
Uh,
Okay.
CEH is a de facto gold certificate for, and let me tell you, the 5 to 10 years, or rather 4 to 10 years experienced guy of VAPT, their salary has gone double in last 8 months.
Okay.
There are no resources available, right? If you
All
have
these
a
pen,
technical,
what these pen
sorry,
testers and VA vulnerability assessment. Uh, what level are they pitched at? I mean, do these officers who
yeah.
are coming after 10 years?
So see again, I think it's very relevant, right? So when I said 4 to 10 years, so these guys are like for last 4 years, 6 years, to 8 years, they are doing VAPT testing. Okay, so typically what I have seen, if someone is already doing something around it, right, have a good technical aptitude, have done something, no, I had few connects, right, from armed forces with whom I have worked in different capacities, and they came from, I think, from Signal, or from different corps which had that internal experience as well. Uh, for new, it is like, to start with, even if you have a 10 years experience, I think you will be pitched against 4 5 years of experience, and then over a period of time, obviously, your experience will have its own weightage as well, right? So unless you you already have experience around it, and this is my candidate, it's not that this is the only true version, but this is my opinion, no, my experience rather. No, unless you have that experience coming from your, from armed forces, or you are very keen on doing the technical stuff, right? Effectively, you will be pitched against someone very lower to your experience, right?
Right.
Uh, that is, see, someone, if, as I also do have, right? So when I look at the VAPT guy, I need someone who is very hands-on, can carry out those testing, correct? And someone who has just started while will have a good understanding of leading that team after some time, but probably how much that no person can dirty its hand is to be seen, right? So effectively, that's slightly difficult track.
So, Aditya, tell me one thing. If somebody is wanting, not a core tech, I, I, I am the one who's hanging the uniform, and I am 15 years, 20 years of service, and I don't want to be in core technical domain like CEH, and I don't want to be in pen testing kind of a thing. and I don't have the aptitude or the capability, or I don't have an inclination for CISSP, which is a very longish program. I have to study too much, etc. You know, but I want to get into companies like Juniper, Cisco, Palo Alto, etc., etc. So companies which are into making these kind of stuff, uh, and uh, Quick Heal, uh, all these people who are offering these cyber security stuff. So, and if I want to be in the business side of it, is it the technical, some technical qualification, or is it the MBA which would help?
Uh, See, there, um, the business side of it, right? The understanding and
I'm
application.
saying techno commercial role.
So when we say, see, when we say techno commercial, see, if so, so the techno commercial definition also gets changed with different enterprises and with different resources,
Okay, I
right?
will tell you first what is my definition of techno commercial. I mean, when I say
Yeah,
techno
go ahead.
commercial, my thing is that I am not a very, though I know technology, but I am not in deep dive into technology. That is what is my,
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
the so the natural this thing course of action for me is to get into something which has some, which is something to do with technology, but I don't have to do that. So I get
Of
into
course.
the commercial role where I it's more on the business side, maybe pre-sales, business development. So for that kind of a role, is it some certification in cybersecurity which would help, or will it be the MBA which will help?
Okay. So first thing on the technology part of it, right? And if we are talking about OEM, that's not mandatory, right? To have CSSP or CISM, etc. Right? Those technical certificates, CH, etc. is anyway not relevant. But from an overall cyber perspective, even that is also not mandatory. It is good to have, right? That shows the inclination of a resource, graduating from one different, very different stream to a very different stream. Okay, this is how that should be seen. Uh, See, the techno commercial role here would be is all about understanding and appreciation of that value proposition of that particular technology to the customer.
Right.
Okay, if you are selling quick heal, uh, and when we interact with those business guys, and they have a very good ecosystem to give comfort to everyone. They have a very good ecosystem. There is a sales guy, right? Even if you may want to call techno commercial, there is a sales guy who, or the account management guy, no, or account manager whom you call, or sales manager whom you call, who will basically interface with customer. And in the back end, while they will have an initial pitch of about what value proposition, and it is hardly 4 or 5 slides, some sales certification of that particular OEM, which OEM anyway will be really helpful. And once they say, okay, this is the value proposition, immediately the technical team, the core technical team comes in, right, which is also called sales engineer, the engineer
Right.
who is associated with that particular sales or pre-sales or whatever way you want to call, right? So absolutely they can get into that techno-commercial role with minimal understanding on cyber security. And I think it's a very relevant areas for the senior leaders who are coming in after full blown service, or someone who is already into 20 years of experience and they have a good connect and they can.
So not everybody can be in this line, and sometimes we don't know whether this line is for us or not. Cybersecurity. So the best way to, if you have time and you want to test waters, the best thing is to join some small courses on Udemy or Coursera and see whether it interests you or not. 27,001 is, I think, 3 4 days certification, ISO certification. You can always join that. Uh, it's almost there in all big cities. There, if you Google it, people are offering those certifications. So we'll take the questions. Hold your horses, please. So, that is one thing. Another thing is, so you can try joining those courses and then see whether you have the aptitude and whether it is of interest to you or not. Instead of jumping into CISSP training courses, start preparing for CISSP, and then you are not able to do it, or it is not of interest to you, you will end up spending money. So don't do that. In case you have time, in case you are planning it well, then try and do some small, short courses first and see whether you have the aptitude and inclination for that. Uh, those who are already into cyber security, maybe signals or any other officer who has been into this, not necessarily signals, but if you are into already into it, then you can look at companies like Infosys, Accenture, TCS, Cognizant, IBM, Wells Fargo, maybe Wipro, and HCL Technologies, Palo Alto, Cisco. So these are the companies which you can look at. And if you are already well qualified, you have already earned some certifications, then it is time to start building relations in these companies through LinkedIn and any other networking platform. So uh, that is that. As far as uh, the salary part is there.
I think we were talking about the techno commercial role. Yes, that is there for the. And then what I was saying, defense is one of the leading consumer of cybersecurity now,
Yeah,
right? For some time, and it is always there, and it's a very lucrative one. Into it. Okay, so that is MBA. See, MBA. Uh, MBA is seen as a sincere effort of coming from armed forces to a very different world, which is a corporate world, right? It's not as disciplined as armed
so
forces are,
what I am,
right? So
why
this
I
is
said, Aditya, my question was actually not MBA as such. What I wanted to actually ask was, after doing some short certification instead of going for a course as grueling as CISSP, uh, if somebody earns little, does some short courses, will it be possible for him to join the business development or pre-sales team? That is there a scope? That's what I wanted to
it
know.
is it is there, right? I think I think let me just put in a OEM perspective, right? So OEM is having someone to take care of business who understands that side of the table, right? Who has that relationship, but at the same time, someone who carries that understanding. You rightly said having some courses, but at times what happens is those OEM specific courses, which effectively they will ask one to go through, and those are very simple sales courses, right? Probably many of us would have taken security awareness program within it, right? So corporate has it. I do believe defense will also have it, right? On certain security awareness do's and don'ts. Those are those kind of programs. Very simple to do it. Okay. So if we can demonstrate that we have that understanding and appreciation on OEM, we are selling, say for example, Quick Heal. Quick Heal sells predominantly antivirus. It used to be antivirus. Now it is called EDR, endpoint detection response. So if we have built some decent understanding on EDR in generic sense, that is sufficient enough for Quick Heal to give a chance, right? Because what we are bringing to the table is that relationship and understanding of defense as an ecosystem. That is definitely there. There's another role called pre-sales. Pre-sales is a pretty technical role. There,
Right.
I would rather not recommend no very senior no officers to get into it. It's very technical. Yes, someone who is having a technical background with 15-20 years can see it as more of a pre-sales lead, right? Not a core pre-sales guy where you are supposed to install different solutions, right? Different platforms and all.
You're right. Right.
And MBA always help, Manish. In fact, when I was doing my ISB, right? So I was fortunate enough to have colleagues from armed forces. So I had a couple of colonels, I think, yeah, three colonels with me, a few lieutenant colonels, squadron leaders, right? So, and and they actually started, not just in cyber, they actually started. Someone joined Microsoft, someone started as an operations leader, though we are talking cyber here, but that really helped them to, uh, you
Yeah.
know, transition their experience into the corporate world of understanding. So that really helps even in cyber world as well.
Right. 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 So, uh, so, Aditya, what is the okay? Very direct question. We have Accenture, we have EY, Cognizant, Deloitte. All these are into big time into. I mean, they're a part of big fours, EY and Accenture and all. So, and they are into consultancy and cyber security. Uh, Consultancy is a big field. Am I right? So,
Absolutely.
and what should a defense officer who's of a reasonable caliber uh, and who has got enough service left, what should one do to get into this consultancy side of it? EY, Deloitte, Accenture.
Okay. So before that, Manish, allow me to just take a couple of minutes to capture other technical part. I think that will really help
Yeah,
you
yeah, sorry.
dwell
Okay,
onto
yeah,
dwell onto this response, right? So we have seen one dimension of cybersecurity. We have
right.
seen GRC, we have seen internal cybersecurity,
Yes,
managerial CISO. Then we have spoken about techno commercial or slash sales role. Then we also started talking about the technical part of it, and I think that
right,
might be helpful for some of the technical folks here, right? So we have spoken about VAPT, which is more about testing
right,
your IT infrastructure, testing your applications, web applications, mobile application, and then extension to it is obviously to carry out scenario based testing called red teaming. Okay. So one thing is we were talking about the certification. So it's a CEH typically, which is a gold standard to start with. Then at an advanced level, you can also consider called OSCP, which is more offensive. Okay, into it. Then there are other technical tracks into cybersecurity which one can look into. Say, for example, cloud. Cloud security is another one which is really hot.
okay,
Okay, so someone, even if not handling cyber, but probably has been handling cloud, or I understand that defense might not be on the cloud part of it, but cloud is nothing but the extension of your internal infrastructure, right? With
right,
certain more flexible way of delivering the same capabilities, right? Some scalability inbuilt and so on and so forth, right? Cloud security is one, which is, and in cloud security, there are cloud service provider specific certificates like AWS provide certificates. Azure does provide certificate. Then Google is also there, but I think the majority of market is governed by AWS and Azure.
right.
Then there are certain common certificate like CSSP, which is from ISC2, which is Cloud Security Professional. Okay. Then there are other tracks as well which are emerging. Say, for example, OT, operational technology. Now we hear IoT, OT. So and this is the growing field. Why I'm highlighting it is not many resources are available in this, right? So kind of everyone is starting together into it. So someone has interest in it, someone has handle on the OT part on it. It could be another areas. And guys, believe me, not enough skills available. It's a very booming area, Manish.
Operation technology.
OT, operational technology security, right? Because more and more the OT part of it, right? SCADA part of it is kind of converging with IT. So it's a booming area onto it. Then internally you have other areas like you will have identity protection, you will have
So, but
network security.
sorry
Yeah,
to interrupt, Aditya. Uh,
yeah.
what would the operational security technology? What will it cover? What will it entail?
So OT, Manish, I think we all probably, no, let me spend a few seconds on to OT. We all understand IT, right? Your network, information technology. The other side where, say, in manufacturing, in plants and factories, in, say, healthcare, okay, you have different devices controlling the operations, right? You will say, for example, you might have a pacemaker. Now the pacemaker for heart is controlled by something. Pacemaker is nothing but a IoT or OT device, right? So these
Right,
are the
right.
devices which are
Okay.
managing that shop floor factories. So now what is happening is, earlier all those devices were kept separate,
Right.
okay? They were not connected with IT at all, because the apprehension was that it might
So is
it,
it IoT
it
security and is it the same thing?
IoT is slightly different than OT. IoT is
Okay.
slightly different than OT, but when we say OT, IoT also gets covered with it.
Right.
And it's an emerging area. It's an area where not all standards are already defined, right? So this area is itself emerging. So even if you are not getting into right now, but you should definitely keep an eye on it,
Okay.
right? Because you are kind of starting together. So you are not starting as a Lego. You know, the entire industry is kind of starting. And you spoke about these big four. They are actually really looking forward to have people who understand OT. Okay.
Right.
So now, and then internally, while it is no, the internal COE at times, they are talking identity protection, data protection, network security. These could be the smaller tracks within it. While as a security manager, you are supposed to. Now coming to the big four, into consulting part of it. So I have seen no, the veterans getting into them as a manager, as a senior manager, right? To start with them into GRC areas more, right? Where someone is coming up with the policies, processes, understanding, and then kind of acting as a process consultant for customers, right? So this is someone which I have seen. I have also seen the them getting into specific technology, like we spoke about cloud security, right? So they are looking for someone who can govern, or who can drive that on a cloud security part or a OT security part, right? So in nutshell, we can think of having, again, we are coming back to it, we can get into those big fours or the consulting organizations via those having understanding on the policies, processes, building policies and process for customers, carrying out those audits, etc. Or we can also identify one or two tracks depending upon our understanding to get onto those areas as well, right? So cloud security, certain on testing, which we call VAPT, OT, where we are seeing that not enough resources available, even with big four as well, or any large consulting organizations as well.
So, Aditya, if I decide to pursue cloud security, is there any specialized certification? Is it
Yes, yes. So just a precursor to it. So anyone having a technical understanding, I think things are slightly simpler. Someone who is still not into technical, my sincere advice would be to start learning about the digital infrastructure, right? Start learning about what are the different areas within IT, what is infrastructure, servers, endpoints, network, right? Similarly to extension to them is cloud. Okay, so that is very, very important. Irrespective, if you are thinking to taking any area within cyber, please start going through it. And there are nowadays on these Manish, on these Udemy, Simply Learn, Knowledge Hub, etc. They are excellent resources, and very cost-effective resources available, which basically gives you lots of insights. Right. So while I was
basically
going
I
through,
just covered the same thing when you had logged out. I was just covering the same thing. Yes, because these are very cost effective options, and one can easily find out whether one has the aptitude for these courses or not.
absolutely. In fact, I was just trying to Google, and then in Udemy, Simply Learn, I found that they have a good beginner program for cybersecurity, and absolutely so. Have a look, see if it is for you. right? Or you have something more interesting to cover, in your career, right? So, say absolute cyber, security guide to cyber, means beginner guide to cyber security, and also these are courses available which are there, so they can go ahead. On cloud security, while there are on these platforms, there are some beginner courses available for cloud security as well. Slowly we can choose any AWS and Azure, and they those CSP, cloud service providers, do have some specific program, right? So they have program on, say, on cloud. They have program for understanding AWS as a platform, cloud architect. Then they also have a program for security architect. Security associate is basically the first, then you get into security architect. I think it's a pretty pretty straightforward to get into it. You can choose AWS, you can choose Azure, anyone you can start with. Then there is a common track from ISC2 which is called CCSP, right? Cloud. Let me tell you the exact name. This is this is called CCSP, right? It's a certified cloud security professional from ISC2, which is a good gold standard into cloud security as well. So there are enough materials available.
Right. So I will just ask one more question, which is very pertinent question actually. What is the salary uh, one should expect if one has already done, say, some certification, and then what are the entry level? I won't say entry level because these officers who will be joining, they have certain amount of experience. Plus, of course, they have uh, they bring on table quite good values on the table. Besides the tech know-how. So, what is the kind of salary one should expect?
Okay.
Though I already know that there is no limit. Sky is the limit as far as cyber security is concerned. Uh,
Absolutely.
but
Abs- ab-
and there is a very fast growth as well. That also I know. Cyber security salaries, uh, you may enter low also, but I have seen people growing so fast. In case you are into cyber security and you are, uh, say, you join at an entry level, not an entry level, I mean, say 24 lakhs or something per annum. But within 3 to 4 years, I have seen 300% jump also. So, which is a very fast growth. So it's a very high demand. It's a very high demand uh, domain. Too much of demand is there, and supply is very less. So anybody who's already having some kind of certifications or some experience, or they have the inclination to go towards this particular domain, it is very much in demand and is going to be relevant for a long time. In fact, it is never going to go out of fashion, as there is physical security. In fact, all the three securities are now merging also. So you are having tech security, electronic security, digital security, and physical security. They're all converging now. So it's a very high demand field, and if you are planning, then you must plan it well. And sky is the limit. I think Vipul is requesting you to answer the poll question. So please participate in the poll, which is wanting you to respond to. I have
Yeah.
not
So
seen.
money, just to add, right? So what we are seeing up to 10 years, this
Yeah,
is where the literal, the lateral thing happens, right? So we are seeing the salary is, between 2x to 5x of your years of experience, right? So Means it can, again, there are different factors coming into it. But someone, as you rightly said, having that experience and then obviously attitude to learn, and then we are seeing it, right? When it goes beyond, say, 50 years type, then obviously that logic at times does not hold, and we have seen people even scaling up to, say, 10 times of, 10x of their experience. Okay, so I think, as Manish said, it's a field which is there to stay. While this increment in between what we are seeing for last 12 to 16 months, as a security professional on the other side of it, because we get to recruit people as well, we see it might not last long, because by which industry will not survive. And the kind of the growth which has come, we do believe it's temporary, and there are lots of stakeholders within ecosystem, which are working to work on the scaling part of it, right? Very interestingly, now we are seeing increasingly tier 2, 3, 4 cities, the talent is being tapped, right? Earlier, which was restricted to only tier 1, now the companies are going beyond it, tapping into it. There are lots of institutes which are kind of training resources, making them ready, maybe 6 months, 9 months courses to kind of prepare them to get as an entry level resource. So lots of things are happening, but in nutshell, irrespective of that X, cybersecurity is here to stay. It is one of the most lucrative areas, and the way digitization is happening, I think, as Manish used the term, sky is the limit.
You gotta focus on your